Put up with that mighty cake, bitch, that mighty drink. Right now, fire, it's up now. You bound to die. I just woke up, got bands today. What got rest today? Put up with that mighty cake.
What's good, y'all? Welcome back to another tier list video. It's your boy Headhunter Nick, and we're back again with another one. Last tier list I did was on the SEC. This is a Big Ten football edition tier list. So basically, we're just like the SEC video, just gonna rank where I think each Big Ten team is gonna finish in the 2024 season. Obviously, I included the new additions of USC, Oregon, UCLA, and Washington. They've all come out of the Pac-12 and are now in the Big Ten as of the 2024 season. So we're going to add them as well. Be sure to check out the SEC video as well. Make sure to leave a like on that, comment. And on this one, also, at the end of the video, like, comment, and tell me who you think, where you think I was right, where you think I was wrong. Trust me, it's all opinion. I can handle whatever y'all say. I can handle the comments. But overall, probably am going to piss you off with this one like I do with every other video. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to leave drop a sub, and that way make this channel grow and make some more football content. This is going to be a series, and also going to do the NFL as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. Illinois. So the Fighting Illini of Illinois, maybe March Madness, man. I mean, off rip, man. Illinois, I'm not really sure what the deal is in Illinois. Recruiting isn't necessarily there, from what I've seen. Transfer portal, they just really haven't been able to really get everything together. Great basketball program though, but Illinois, I mean, it's one of those teams that I would really like to see be good at the game of football. I know, out in Illinois, Illinois is mainly a basketball state, but, Illinois has shown flashes of being, a decent football team, here and there, especially like during the Juice Williams years, but they just really haven't been able to, and I get it, they're in a tough conference, but, recruiting just really isn't there, and it's hard to recruit in a basketball state. So mainly just trying to look, I would say, really look through the transfer portal, or maybe, just try to recruit out of state. But all difficult things that are just hindering Illinois from being a really good team in the Big Ten. But moving on to Indiana, the Indiana Hoosiers, man, Michael Penix left, and so did pretty much all hope for the Indiana football program. I mean, when you're in it's just hard to win when you just have, once again, traditionally a basketball school. They've had flashes of being a good program, historically, but as of right now, it's just rough over there, man. Like, Indiana just has, I think historically they are the worst FBS football team of all time. So when you're just traditionally bad at football, maybe put all your focus into basketball as an institution, once again, just hard to compete, especially at the Big Ten level, where there's it's just very hard to compete at the Big Ten. It's a good conference for football. It really is. So Indiana, not too high on them, especially going into 2024. I just don't really see much hope going into, especially with like some of the new additions that have come in. The Iowa Hawkeyes. Well, let's go ahead and get this out the way. I was just going to do the exact same thing as they did last year. They're an interesting football team for all the wrong reasons. The thing with Iowa is, like, as we all know, their offense is so historically terrible. And to be in a bad offensive system in 2024 where, defense, like in an era where defenses are literally handcuffed, you're not allowed to hit a certain way anymore. All types of tackles are banned now. It's like the game has been shifted to support offenses and offenses only. And I mean, like scoring 10 points is such a challenge for y'all. Like it's an embarrassing product as far as the offense goes on the field. It's tough to watch, you know. And I'm a defensive guy. Now, trust me, I like defensive football. I know, like, for example, a lot of people were like shitting on the Rams Patriots Super Bowl that was played in Atlanta a few years ago. A lot of people were shitting on that. I didn't mind watching it. It was good defensive football. I don't mind defensive football. But the thing with Iowa, man, you know, their defense is so good that it literally makes them a contending football team. So it's like, it's so hard to judge, like, what Iowa is going to end up doing. Like, you got to remember, Iowa made it to the Big Ten championship game last season. Despite how bad that offense was, they made it to the Big Ten championship game. Michigan ran through them front ways, back ways, and sideways, but still, you know, they made it to a Big Ten championship game because of how good that defense is. And I think we're going to see more of the same coming up. But here's the thing. While they were good last year, they were in the good tier last year, I'm going to have to drop them in the mid tier. Mainly because you have Pac-12 teams coming in. While they don't know what the Oklahoma drill is or how to fucking tackle whatsoever, with probably the exception of Oregon. Like, their offense is so good to where I think a lot of like some of those teams' offenses, and even teams that are just, you know, traditionally in the Big Ten, their offenses are so good to where it can just defeat Iowa's defense. Because, like, yeah, Iowa's defense is good, but these other teams' offenses just simply are better. And then you can't score any points to respond to the touchdowns they're going to score, to the points they're going to put up. I mean, they're going to fall off. You know, I don't see a Big Ten championship in their future. And until they fix that offense, which I don't see happening, you know, it just baffles me how bad that the offensive system is. I can rant on this forever, but like if y'all saw in the SEC video, I ranted about Auburn and made the video pretty long, so I'm going to chill on Iowa for right now. The Maryland Terrapins, Taluia Tagovailoa, to his little brother, he's now gone. It's like Maryland has capabilities of being a good team, being a, you know, in the good tier, and they miss a tackle here and there, and it's over. Like, you know, like Maryland, they've had the tools to become a pretty good team, but it's like recruiting in the DMV area as well. Like, you're in the DMV, there's talent over there. Like, yeah, we talk about Georgia, we talk about Texas, Florida, Cali, you know, the big Power 4 states when it comes to recruiting. But even in the DMV area, there's a lot of good athletes over there, and they get some of them. But as far as like developing that talent and making them, you know, forming them into a good football team, I mean, they've had trouble with that. So I'm going to put them in the mid tier because I think, you know, for some reason, I have a little bit of faith in Maryland, and that, you know, there's some bad teams in the Big Ten that I think they can, you know, kind of beat up on and kind of raise them to the mid tier. But if it was, you know, if not for that, they would definitely be in the bad tier. And can't really put them in March Madness because I haven't seen them do that well in basketball either. So that's my opinion on that. All right, we're at that point of the video. The first new addition to the Big Ten, the USC Trojans. As we all know, head coached by Lincoln Riley. This team here can be so, man, this team here would be a national powerhouse if Lincoln Riley knew what the fuck he was doing defensively. Like, I've never seen a team where hardly anybody can cover. All right. And here's the thing, you can kind of get away with bad coverage if you could get a motherfucker on the ground. You can't even do that. All right. But the offense is good enough to where, you know, they can put up 30, 40 points and stay competitive. They can stay in the games. But that was with Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is gone. USC, man, I want to put him in the good tier so bad. I want to. But now that you're in a conference where you're dealing with better teams than you were in the Pac-12, you know, you can get away with, you know, being very bad defensively and having a good offense because, well, that's the entire fucking conference of the Pac-12. You can do that over there. in the Big Ten, and here's the thing, people want the trend of the game of football to go the way USC or go the way these West Coast teams are. They want everybody to do this shit now. So they want everybody to get in these, spread formations. They want to air it out, and to hell with defense. We just want high scoring games. And this is the type of team that the NCAA likes. This is the type of team that all the, rich people who are in power over the game of football and rule making, this is the type of football they want to take over the entire country. It doesn't win shit, but they want this type of football to kind of take over. And reality is that's just not how the game of football works. You're going into a violent conference. Defenses will knock the piss out of you. Now, you got to fly out to these cold ass areas in the Midwest. And I've played football games in November in the Midwest. I'm from Georgia, and yeah, we played those teams. We were good. We beat them and everything, but man, it was one of the worst experiences of my life. Cold as hell. Every hit hurts. Can't run as fast as I would on a 90-degree day down here, 100-degree day down here. You feel every little hit and it stings. You're playing with, you're wearing metal, so like all that's hitting your skin. You gotta go to places like Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, Minnesota. You gotta go places like that, Wisconsin. You gotta go places like that in the wintertime, like fall, wintertime. It's crazy to deal with. So I feel like even though they have the offensive talent to be good, or hell, even natty contenders, reality, I'm gonna put them in the midsection. They are mid. That's 100% where they belong. And I mean, fight me. Michigan State, that program there, I mean, with the coaching situation over there, they're just in a state of disrepair, man. Like that whole coaching controversy that went on like a year or two ago with Michigan State. They're just simply not a good football team right now. I mean, the program is dealing with a bunch of stuff. They're bad. This is a bad, just bad program, bad organization, the whole nine. Just a lot of stuff going wrong, and that's just not how a program should be run, especially at the Power 4 level now, because the Pac-12 is basically gone. It's sad to see, honestly. It's terrible to look at, sad to see. Yeah, that's my overall opinion there. The Michigan Wolverines, the defending national champions, I should have moved them to the end, so to kind of build up suspense, but I failed to do that, and I'm not moving them now. So here's the thing with Michigan. They just came off a national championship win. Jim Harbaugh's gone. He's taking a job with the LA Chargers. Sharon Moore is the head coach there, so it's like a lot of questions as to how Michigan's going to do going into 2024, coming off that national championship reign. I'll tell you what. Now, if y'all saw my last video, the SEC video, where I was basically talking about Alabama and basically what they're going to be dealing with Kalen DeBoer there now that Nick Saban's gone, and I was basically explaining how things are going to be different over there at Alabama and how the players have to get used to a new system, a new way of doing things. It's a different person running the program, and it also has a whole new staff to where, the operation is just going to be not necessarily what they're used to dealing with. With the Michigan Wolverines, if they had hired anybody else as the head coach, my point about Alabama would lie, right? Like my point of Alabama would line up right here with Michigan. But they hired Sharon Moore. Sharon Moore was the offensive coordinator. He also took over as the interim head coach when Harbaugh was dealing with the suspension. Sharon Moore knows how to run a football program. And the way Sharon Moore operated that program, especially through the later parts of the season, beat Ohio State, while running the team, while Jim Harbaugh couldn't even be involved. Michigan's gonna be, they're gonna be okay. They're gonna be the exact same because the staff, like for the most part, as far as I know, the same staff is still there for the most part at Michigan. And you have a guy who figured out Ohio State as the offensive coordinator, built a power run game, got these good running backs in, got them good to go and everything. Built a tremendous offensive line. And now all they said was, all right, you have already been a part of this. You helped build this. We're just going to move your office over here. That was the only thing that's really changed. Now, are things going to be run slightly differently? Yes, because at the end of the day, it's just simply a different person. But overall, Michigan, that is a national championship contending team. They're going to be. I will give my opinion on how I think that game is going to go when I get to Ohio State. I'll give my opinion then. So, overall, I think they are national championship contenders. The Minnesota Gophers, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think Minnesota is that bad of a, I have to, let me do a quick, Google search, make sure I'm not getting anything confused real quick. They went 6-7 last season, so they made a bowl game and lost that bowl game. Looking into last season, they, beat some teams they were supposed to beat, but man, they lost to a lot of teams they definitely were not supposed to lose to. Yeah, Minnesota, man. Oh man, because my mindset kind of went to 2022 Minnesota, and I was like, hold on, let me make sure I got my shit right before I say anything. So basically, from what I've seen from Minnesota is that in 2023, losing to Purdue, they got blasted by Ohio State and Michigan. I feel like, this is a bad team right here. They did make a bowl game, so I'll give them that, but they made it pretty much off of the fact that they beat a lot of lesser opponents. They beat the teams they were supposed to beat for the most part, but they also lost some games they shouldn't have lost. And then, obviously just got stomped out by the two best teams in the conference. The Nebraska Cornhuskers, they have Dylan Raiola there. New quarterback, same shit, different year. All right. I'm just here to tell y'all the truth, all right? The only reason they're not in March Madness is because they're not that good at basketball. All right. Nebraska since the dominant years of the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, that shit is over with, man. This is a program on a downhill stretch. They're just not good at football, man. They're just not as good as they used to be. And, and everybody's thinking, okay, they got Dylan Raiola there. Shit's about to change just like that. And unfortunately, that's not how football works. Defense isn't that great. In my opinion, they're not that great. Offensively, they don't really score a lot of points. They haven't really been, they haven't been very productive in my opinion. I don't think, Dylan Raiola can be a slight improvement on that, but you're not going anywhere until you build a stout defense, because you gotta remember what conference you're in too. You have to build a stout defense that's going to stop some people and then score some points on top of that. So yeah, they'll score a few more points. They might even win a couple more games than they did last year. But this isn't the program as a whole, especially going into 2024. I just don't think they're that great, honestly. But that's just my opinion there. The Oregon Ducks, they are a new team coming into the Big Ten. Now, I know I've said my pieces in this video, other videos about the Pac-12 and how they play defense. The Oregon Ducks, while their defense isn't, all-time great, Dan Lanning over there, he came from Georgia, all right? He basically ran the defense for the Georgia Bulldogs and built some of the, in my opinion, I would say the 2021 Georgia Bulldogs is the greatest defense of all time, in my opinion. I'll get into that during a whole nother video, but that's my opinion. He's now the head coach at Oregon, and he's running things. Obviously it's going to take him a couple years before they just start dominating the entire nation. They're the closest thing to an SEC team that's not in the SEC now. I know with the last video I was talking about Texas and how Texas was the closest team. Oregon is slightly behind Texas, but Texas is in the SEC now. Oregon's going to the Big Ten. Oregon, man, they play great defense for a Pac-12 team. They stop some great offenses. They slowed down some good offenses, and they can score some points as well. Now I know Bo Nix is gone. I still have a lot of faith in Oregon, in my opinion. I think they're still gonna be whooping up on some people. They're coming into a new conference. I get it. The Big Ten is a lot is better than the Pac-12. A lot more heavy hitting stuff like that. But they, they're one of the teams that play in the cold in the Pac-12, going to a conference where they're kind of going to be experiencing the same kind of conditions, especially like in the later parts of the season. I think, in my opinion, this is I'd say this is a national contender right here. There's a lot of good coming out of that Oregon. I mean, they play a great brand of football, and going into the Big Ten, that's exactly what you're going to need. I think there's a lot of, they're better than a lot of teams in this conference, better than 95% of the teams in this conference. And head to head, I think they can prove that on the field as well. Northwestern, I don't know how good Northwestern is in basketball, but somehow I'm going to put them there. That way I don't have to add a whole nother tier. I'll put them in bad just because I don't really know about Northwestern basketball like that. They did make it pretty far. Now that I think about it, they had a pretty good run during March Madness, during the national tournament. But yeah, I'll put them in March Madness. Northwestern, they're like Vanderbilt of the SEC. There to keep the conference GPA up. Not a huge focus on football. I mean, like I said, they've shown flashes of being a good program in the past, but they're not as bad as Vanderbilt, because Vanderbilt has been bad at football for 70, 80 years. Northwestern has been bad at football for a while, but they've shown, like I said, flashes of being a good team. Even went to a Rose Bowl in the 90s. So as far as 2024 goes, I don't have much faith in Northwestern. They're not going to do a whole lot. Pretty much that's the case. Penn State, here we go. If y'all know my opinion on, I think Penn State's going to be, I think they're going to be good. I think Penn State, I'm not a fan of Drew Aller at all as a quarterback, but they play some pretty good defense over there. If they can they're slightly better than Iowa as far as the offense goes. Drew Aller, in my opinion, is not a great quarterback at all, especially against going against top tier competition, going against top tier teams. Drew Aller's not that, just not that great. They have a good defense, good enough to win them a lot of football games, but they're just not on the level of, some of the top teams in the Big Ten. So I feel like once they figure out the quarterback situation, how they can score more points, and James Franklin, he just simply can't win big football games. He just can't. And there's just some coaches that they're just cursed with that cannot win big football games. I'm a Georgia fan, so I saw the whole thing with Mark Richt, great coach in the regular season. There were certain teams he couldn't beat, and then when he got the big games, couldn't win those either. So that's my opinion on Penn State. Purdue, ever since Rondale Moore has been gone, they just haven't done a lot. I think they need to just scrap everything and kind of start over. They already are losing the recruiting battle against Notre Dame in the state of Indiana, so you're already not going to get the best players. Indiana is a basketball state, so that. So it's a basketball state. It's hard to recruit, but then again, Notre Dame is in the same state, and they're just snatching up recruits left and right. Hit the transfer portal. Look at JUCOs. Another thing, like there's some underrated kids in the power, like a lot of the power states, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Cali, that, they don't necessarily go to USC, or they don't go to Texas, they don't go to Georgia, they're not going to Florida State, Florida, schools like that, and they're just, slightly underrated. Shoot them an offer, instead of just going on 24/7 and looking up, just, instead of just scrolling down and seeing, okay, this guy has this many stars, I'm going to shoot him an offer, knowing damn well you're not going to get the guy. It's just that simple. You're not going to get the guy. Do this thing, coaches, called watch film and recruit that way. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be a better football team. Now, am I saying don't, give the higher ranked kids offers? I'm not saying that at all. Obviously, you gotta shoot them offers, on the off chance that you do get them there. But don't put all your focus there. Like, the reason why Georgia was so good, the reason why Clemson, became pretty good, became like one of the top tier programs up until a couple years ago, was, yeah, they recruited 4 stars to 5 stars. Yeah, they were able to get some of them in too. But they played guys like Hunter Renfrow. They played guys like Stetson Bennett, who were under the radar guys, but, they saw their film, they shot him an offer anyway, and was like, all right, let's see what you can do. All right. They also saw what they were able to do on the field and was like, you know what? Yeah, we got this 5-star guy in, we got this 4-star guy in, but you're performing better than them. So we're putting you on the field. Once some of these schools start figuring that out, y'all might actually start winning a couple games. But a lot of these coaches are lazy as hell and won't necessarily do that. Rutgers, just bad, man. They can be better than they are. They are mid at the very best. That's my opinion with them going into 2024. Wisconsin, I feel like with Wisconsin, man, they have, the defense, in my opinion, the defense kind of took a step back. They weren't necessarily as good as the historic Wisconsin teams where power run game and then play good defense. Here's what I'll say about Wisconsin. Wisconsin was exactly what Michigan, they were supposed to be what Michigan is now. All right. Power run team, build this great big offensive line, blow people off the ball, tear up defensive lines, play good defense, have a, kind of a mid-tier quarterback, but a lot of good running backs, a stable of running backs that can get the job done. Especially in, them colder games where, especially in Wisconsin. I think it's cold as hell in Wisconsin. So you're playing in Wisconsin, cold weather. That, teams like that, they're like the last team you want to see. You're getting hit by 300-pound linemen. Then you got 220, 230, 240-pound running backs running slap ass over you. You feeling all the pain and shit. Teams like that is what you want to avoid. That's who Wisconsin was supposed to become. And it just didn't happen. I think Wisconsin needs to, go back to the drawing board. Linemen, recruit a bunch of linemen. Even on the FCS level, look at what North Dakota State did. They built a great offensive line. Yes, I know ball. They recruited a great O-line. Yes, they have skilled players. Yes, they have, they've had good quarterbacks in that too. But that offensive line, they get the best O-line coaches, best strength and conditioning. They're like, yo, you're going to work your ass off in the weight room. You're already a big guy, but you're going to work your ass off in the weight room, get your technique down, and we're just going to, destroy defenses, defensive linemen, linebackers. We just want to make sure no team wants any part of us. And, we're also going to recruit a pretty damn good running back too. So once you, clear the holes and everything, all they got to do is just, read and weave their way through. So if Wisconsin can get back to that, and I don't know how they're going to do in 2024. Right now, I'm going to put them in good because they did have a down year. And I think they can get back to that. Actually, because I don't really know who's, in the backfield for Wisconsin anymore. Now that Braylon Allen's gone, they had a pretty good, if I can remember his name, they had a pretty good guy. I think he wore like number 5 or something for Wisconsin. Pretty good number 2 back. I remember one of the games, Braylon Allen was getting stuffed. They were knocking the piss out of him, and he ran for like 130 or something like that. But if they could just rebuild that running back room and not necessarily try to go with the trend of football now, get back to what you know and build a defense and go off of that. UCLA, I don't have a lot of faith in UCLA. Just too violent of a conference for them. Weren't necessarily that great in the Pac-12. I think they're not going to do very well, in my opinion. Weren't very great in the Pac-12, and then now you're coming to the Big Ten. You know, you're about to be playing games in cold weather. I just don't see. It's just too tough of a conference for them, in my opinion. I don't see them doing very well and playing at the level they need to play to be competitive in this conference. Ohio State, here we go. Ohio State. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna rank Washington first. I'll just do Ohio State. Fuck that. Ohio State, they've built. You know, they already had a good team. You know, they just haven't had the playoff performance, so people have, you know, chosen to refer to them as like the Dallas Cowboys of college football. But, you know, Ohio State has made it to a national championship and won national championships, or a national championship in recent memory. That year being like 2014. And they went to the transfer portal. They finally learned how to tackle. All right, they finally got some guys that can fucking tackle. So their defense has gotten a lot better. Because, man, oh man, watching Michigan just run slap ass through them was something to behold. All right. Now, with Ohio State, in my opinion, with the guys they brought in, I think they are national championship contenders. So I don't really see them losing a single game during the regular season. But even if they lose a game or two in the regular season, they're still going to make the playoff, and I just don't see too many teams that are just going to be good enough to just beat them, right? Now, the question that was asked earlier, how do I think the game is going to go? How do I think Ohio State is going to do against Michigan? In my opinion, I'm going to piss y'all off with this one. I'm not saying this for no crazy hot take or anything. I'm being actually serious, and I can break down why. I do think Michigan is going to beat Ohio State again. I know the talent Ohio State has brought in, but with Ryan Day at the helm, he is a soft coach, man. I hate to break it to y'all. Soft coach. And with a soft coach like Ryan Day, he is very good in the regular season. He can, you know, they're better than Penn State. And that's just because they beat Penn State because they're just, you know, Penn State does a lot to themselves to ensure that they don't beat Ohio State. And, you know, you're better than Indiana, Northwestern, Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers, Nebraska, you know, teams in the conference where, you know, you're not, I mean, the reason why you're not as good, the reason why the Big Ten is not as good as the SEC is like the bad teams in the Big Ten, they're really fucking bad. Yes, the SEC has some terrible teams as well, but not this bad, you know. Sharon Moore, you know, he was there for the you know, the new streak that Michigan has against Ohio State, and he knows how to have Ohio State's number. He knows how to prepare his offense. Now he has to prepare a full team, but he knows what he's doing over there. He's gonna handle the offense as the head coach. If the defense, if I'm not mistaken, some of the defensive guys are still there for Michigan. If they can just lock in and prepare the way they have prepared against Ohio State over the past couple years, because even over the past 2 or 3 years, Ohio State has had the better team on paper. They've been better than Michigan. Michigan just plays better football. You know, like I said, it's always about the fourth quarter. When the fourth quarter comes around, you know, you're already tired. You're already playing a, you know, rough football game. And them linemen, you know, it's like the linemen get better in the fourth quarter. Like, yeah, and you get your stops, you know, first couple quarters of the game. Yeah, they're hitting you hard, but you're still getting your stops. When that fourth quarter comes, you're beat up and you're tired. Them linemen just getting started. You know, they finna start blowing your ass off the ball some more. And I just don't think Ohio State still, even now, I don't think they're built to handle that again, because that's what Sharon Moore is gonna do. I just think Michigan still has Ohio State's number at the moment, and you know, Donovan Edwards, he's a good running back. If they can, now here's the thing: if Michigan can find a good, 1-2 punch at the running back position, I think Michigan, definitely going to beat them. If they cannot, for whatever reason, if Donovan Edwards is your only running back, Ohio State's going to win that game, and I mean they're going to win pretty big too. But as of right now, I do think Michigan will have the edge over Ohio State, and I feel like the streak is going to continue, just because Ryan Day he tries to build his team on paper to be good enough to stop Michigan, but preparing his team to playing any team that plays like very physical football, especially at the level that Michigan plays it at, I just don't see it. And the defending, and now for Washington, the team that just made the national championship game, lost to Michigan in said national championship game. Kalen DeBoer's gone. You're in a new conference. You literally proved on the field that you cannot handle playing in the Big Ten, playing Big Ten, brand of football. And your best players are either in the draft or have transferred. I think they're going to be pretty mid, but that's my list. That's my tier list. Be sure to leave a like, comment. Like I said, just go ahead, share your opinion. I can handle it. At the end of the day, this is all opinions, and we just got to wait for the season to come around and see how they really perform for real. But once again, it's about that time of year, the best time of year, football season. And once again, appreciate your support, and be sure to leave a sub, and that way we can grow the channel, and that way we can pump some more content out there. So y'all be sure to like, subscribe, all that. Appreciate your support. Y'all be safe, or stay dangerous, stay dirty.
Then the aftermath, I'm always gonna get that text asking me where we is, like, baby, go get some rest, cause darling, I don't wish you well. When you ain't with me, I need you sick to your stomach, it can't stand on your feet. I know it's wrong, but I just gotta be honest.